My name is Taylor Grieger. I'm a veteran Navy rescue swimmer, and now I sail veterans around on expeditions. I'm based out of Texas.
I'm Glenn Holsten, and I'm a documentary filmmaker.
Hi, I'm Chayne Gregg. I'm a film producer and co-owner of the production company Fresh Fly.
Expecting a pretty good storm tonight. Not one of those hit you and quit you types. Put her into the wet! There are waves crashing over the bow. Blood in the railings. You make a mistake out here, you die. I got here with a dream that I've had since I was a kid, man. All I wanted to do was sail around the world. And I joined the military as a stepping stone to make that possible. After getting out of the military, I was diagnosed with PTSD. And it was pure hell.
I ended up putting a Glock to my head and pulled the trigger, and it didn't go off. What am I still doing here? Was it a second chance?
I wanted to show my buddies getting out that they weren't the only ones going through this.
That kid loves with a huge heart, and to him, all the military guys are his family.
So I took up an impossible challenge, sailing around Cape Horn to raise awareness about what's really going on with veterans. I put everything into this expedition. I've lost everything for this expedition, too. Boat's leaking, caught on fire last night, pushing our luck. I question myself all the time. Is everything that I've given gonna change anything? You feel alive out here. You're working with the winds, you're working with the water. You know, she beats you down, but at the same time, she rewards you when that sun comes out, and it's just a ray of sunlight coming out over a glacier.
That kid won't give up. He won't give up on anything.
You're not prepared for everything. All you can do is just take the storm and keep on pushing through it. Life is worth the fight.
That is a trailer from the documentary Hell or High Seas, and this is Factual America. We're brought to you by Alamo Pictures, an Austin and London-based production company making documentaries about America for international audiences. I'm your host, Matthew Sherwood. Each week, I watch a hit documentary and then talk with the filmmakers and their subjects. This week, it is my pleasure to welcome the filmmakers behind the recently released documentary Hell or High Seas, Taylor Grieger, Glenn Holsten, and Chayne Gregg. The film is a ripping adventure about two Texans who decide to sail some of the most treacherous waters known to man around Cape Horn in a patched-up sloop. In raising awareness about the plight of U.S. military veterans, the film also teaches us something about the human spirit. Taylor, Glenn, and Chayne, welcome to Factual America. How are things with you? I'll start off with Taylor. How are you?
Good, man. Yeah, thanks for having us. It's cool. It's good getting to talk to you.
It's great to have you on. Glenn?
Doing well. Thanks for the invitation, and thanks for the nice words about the film.
Yeah, well, it's my pleasure. And Chayne, how about you? How are things?
Great. Happy to be here, man. Glad we're doing it.
Okay, well, just to remind our listeners and watchers, the film's Hell or High Seas, recently released. It's available to stream on various digital platforms, or you can go to their website, hellorhighseas.com. So congratulations. You got a film made. I think it's getting great reviews from what I've seen. And maybe, Glenn, I'm going to start with the director on this one. Maybe you can get us a little synopsis for our audience. What is Hell or High Seas all about?
Well, Hell or High Seas is about Taylor Grieger's adventure journey, actually, to heal himself, but also raise attention to the troubling fact that many people who return from the military don't return healthy and end up taking their lives, dying by suicide. Taylor wanted to raise awareness about this fact that exists in America, that an unfortunate number of people die every day by suicide, veterans, but he also wanted to challenge himself by taking this adventure in sailing around Cape Horn, which is the bottom tip of the world and some of the most dangerous waters.
And Taylor, this is your story, isn't it? I mean, Navy veteran. You've had your own struggles with PTSD. Very candid moments in the film, sharing your innermost thoughts. And what were you hoping to achieve by, I mean, not even about the film, just you decided to set off from Pensacola in a patched up, beat up sloop that you'd repaired. What was the point of the journey?
Yeah, well, candid's a nice way to put it. So thanks for that. Yeah, I thought it was weird whenever I got back to the States, and there's a lot of stuff going on with my body that I didn't understand. And that, I think, compounded all the problems that I had. One of the biggest things that happened to me whenever I got back was my adrenaline would start running for no reason at all. And I didn't know why, man. And it was weird. And it was really scary, honestly, because, I thought that something was really wrong with me. And so the goal of the film and the reason why we made a film was to kind of show my experience, so the guys coming out after us didn't have that same experience I did, that they knew exactly what was going on with the body, and they didn't just go down that PTSD spiral where you kind of just ruin your life. Hoping that if they saw what I went through and that you can heal and you can get better, that they won't have to go through what I did whenever I first got back.
Mm-hmm. And whose idea was it to sail around Cape Horn, of all places?
Yeah, Steve and I had some whiskey one night. We were talking about
that's how these always get started.
We were talking about how we could help the boys, and it all revolved around using film and using media to reach them. Because this is the first time in our history that we could do that. If you think about every war that we've ever come back from, there hasn't been a way to reach every single veteran in the States, and so using film and putting it out online was a no-brainer for us. The next question was like, well, how are we going to get anybody to watch it? We're not going to be YouTube stars because we don't have bikinis on our boat or anything. So they're like, well, we're probably going to have to do something really dangerous that nobody else has done before. And and then, that just came around to Cape Horn. There was kind of no question about it. We got to sail the baddest waters in the world if anybody's going to watch this. So it kind of made the decision for us. Okay.
And there's so much more to it than just that. But Glenn and Chayne, how and when did you all get involved? Chayne?
Yeah, we saw actually through Steven's aunt, who had worked with Glenn on another film, brought it to our attention, and she's like, you guys should check out what my nephew's doing. He's doing something pretty cool, and it's pretty intense. And we looked at some of the early footage that they had done, and then when we understood like what the purpose of making this film was for, what it was all about, we were kind of like in very quickly, because Taylor and Steven had done such an amazing job. You would think that they had like camera training or something. I don't know if they just got lucky the whole time or if like these guys actually had some skills, but no, they just what they had put together already was very compelling visually. And we knew that there was a story there, and we wanted to join in with them and help them shape that and tell that.
Yeah. When someone's aunt comes to you and says, "I've got this nephew and his friend who've got they're doing this thing," you must have been skeptical at first before you saw the rushes or the dailies.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Glenn.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. I was really worried there would be a bunch of cell phone footage that I would need some Dramamine for before I had to watch it, for being seasick myself. But, as they were making these little Patreon videos to help support their journey. So they had a real mission and a purpose for making these videos. But when I watched them, and I also shared them with our editor, Vic Carino, I immediately saw the whole thing. I saw a really great pair of main characters. I saw really wonderful, natural human beings who felt comfortable with each other on camera. There was no performance. There's no performance in here. It's just their life and their daily life together on this boat. And I also saw this journey that was giant and big and scary, and that they were fearlessly attempting. We met them sort of halfway when the journey had taken a hiatus for many, many reasons. And Stephen came from Texas to New York, and Chayne and I are based in Philadelphia. So We had a quick meeting, and I mean, it was such a pretty easy agreement. Yes, we will help you. And from that moment on, it became, us supporting them with some technology, although they had done a great job of sort of stocking the boat with gadgets and stuff to make pictures and sound. But also it helped us sort of steer them in sort of what to capture. I was very pleased at a last screening when Steven said that the one thing that he remembered from our conversation was that I told him, when in doubt, just shoot the faces. So, and those are some great moments near the end where we're looking at Taylor's faces and John's face, and we see Steven's faces as well. So I was really happy to sort of give them the gentle guidance that way.
And Taylor, how did you? I mean, like the guys say, you already had. I mean, you've got this gentle pushes towards the end, but how did you guys pull this off? Because you're not trained filmmakers, yet you were already doing a little bit of that, capturing the faces and these very intimate and poignant moments. And at the same time, I mean, what the hell it must be like being on the boat with just one other guy for hours and days and months and years on end.
Yeah. No, we're not filmmakers at all. That was one of the other things that we kind of talked about, along with if we were going to do this and we were going to put video or film out to veterans, to the veteran population. We had a very real conversation. It was like, if you've ever watched any film with a veteran before and anything is wrong in it, they're like the biggest critics in the world and the harshest critics you could ever watch a movie with. So we're like, if we're going to make film, we've got to try, there was a conscious effort to try and capture what it was really like on the boat. It took us a couple of weeks to get used to the cameras, right? Just because we've never done anything like that before. But I mean, we downloaded a bunch of YouTube videos, just like the maintenance on the boat. Filming was a part of that learning process. So when we were at sea, we just watch all the YouTube videos we downloaded on how to film and and how to frame properly. We didn't know anything about that, so it was a learning process. I mean, we had the expedition was 2 years. So after a year of trying, you have to get decent or capable at it. If not, you'd have to quit. We had a lot of time.
You had a lot of time, but it's just 2, sometimes 3 guys on that boat, and you've gone through some hellish storms and seas, and yet you're capturing yourself dangling from the rigging, trying to make repairs and stuff like that. I mean, that's I don't know. I'm certainly a landlubber. I get seasick just crossing on a ferry, but I can't imagine trying to save the boat and also film all that at the same time.
It was tough. Yeah, man. There's a lot of times when we thought we were going to die and we just didn't pick up a camera because we were trying to keep the boat alive. Yeah. So it was hard. So a lot of those scenes a lot of the hard scenes in the film are some of our easiest hard moments, I guess is the best way to put it, just because we didn't have another hand to stay alive out there. So it was a task for sure.
I think maybe that takes us to a good point to give our listeners and watchers an early break. But we'll be right back with Taylor Grieger, Glenn Holsten, and Chayne Gregg, the filmmakers behind Hell or High Seas, recently released on digital platforms and available on hellorhighseas.com. If you enjoy Factual America, check out the Movie Maker podcast. That's all one word, Movie Maker, where our friends at moviemaker.com interview everyone from filmmakers just breaking in to A-listers like David Fincher and Edgar Wright about their movie-making secrets and behind-the-scenes tricks of the trade. They go deep and let the guests speak uninterrupted to get you the most film insight. Now back to Factual America. Welcome back to Factual America. I'm here with filmmakers Taylor Grieger, Glenn Holsten, and Chayne Gregg. Hell or High Seas is the film, recently released on digital platforms and also available on the website hellorhighseas.com. So, I think, Glenn, you were saying you got involved sort of halfway through the project, the journey, I should say, maybe. And once you were on board, then what was your involvement? Did you fly down to Patagonia? And
Yes.
Yeah, and that must have been incredible.
It was fab. It was fantastic. They had completed the journey. So Chayne and I went with a super talented cinematographer named John Pope, and we filmed with Taylor and Steven for, goodness, Chayne, what was it? A couple days?
Yeah, we were filming. It was like a 6-day trip, and we filmed like 3 or 4 days of it. So we did a lot of filming down there.
Yeah, and there was this key interview that Taylor was very willing to participate in, wherein he sort of talked about his roughest moments in life and the moments of deciding whether or not he wanted to live. And that was missing from the footage that they had, and we'd had conversations about it. That we knew that we needed to give those layers to the film. The adventure was wonderful and amazing, but we need to give the depth of the story. We need to gather the depth of the story. That was one of our chief challenges in Patagonia. And then also, we were able to grab all this kinds of footage of Patagonia itself and Taylor and Steven in the environment that is sprinkled through the film rather cleverly, so that there's this, and again, they did a great job capturing it all, but there's this level of polish through the film that is because we were able to sort of sprinkle some of that in. It was a wonderful adventure. I loved every smell of it.
And I mean, so besides filling in the sort of the pieces or adding that depth as you mentioned, I mean, I think both you and Chayne have experience with films that deal with some of these subjects. I mean, is that also part of the challenge? Because it's a very personal film. We'll talk to Taylor in a minute about this, but to get people who've suffered through this to share that on screen, that must be quite a challenge, or is in bringing that to life.
Yeah, I have done quite a few films about mental health and mental health journeys. And it's really important to me. I grew up with a mom who was depressed a lot, and in my family, we didn't know how to talk about it. We didn't talk about it. We didn't have language to give to our feelings. So as not a kid, I really want to be a part of giving people language for a conversation. So taking someone like Taylor or any person who's had this journey of a tough journey that they've worked very hard to work through, I know that that's the most precious thing that they can share with somebody, and I have to honor that. And so I really wanted our time together to be safe, really safe for Taylor. And I wanted him to feel that he was giving this precious gift over to someone who would hold it and care for it as it should be cared for. So that was my utmost priority. Yeah. Luckily, Chayne is such a great guy, and John is such a great person as well. And so there was this very sort of feeling of support throughout the filming that we felt for and from each other. And I think that helped. I think it did. Taylor will tell us of what he felt during that time.
Well, and Taylor, I'm not going to make you relive that moment. I think we were talking earlier before we started filming about spoiler alerts. I think that's the details of that. Maybe that conversation are best saved for the film in some ways. But maybe you can. I mean, the whole point of this was to raise awareness about PTSD and veterans. Maybe if you don't mind, I mean, do you feel comfortable? What is it like living with PTSD? And why? And maybe why do so many veterans have it? I think what was very interesting about you and this film is raising the awareness about even those who are non-combatants, how they suffer with it as well.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack there. I think the biggest thing and the easiest way to start with talking about PTSD is people think it's all bad memories that you relive. It's a part of it, because when you go through those bad moments overseas, your adrenaline is running. It's trying to keep your body alive, and there's a direct correlation between memory recall and adrenaline. Mm-hmm. So you see those terrible moments as clear as you were there today. That's definitely part of it. But what I didn't know, and my biggest problem was I didn't understand how physical it was, how your body on a physiological level changed. So when you live in an environment where your adrenaline's running constantly and you constantly think you're going to die, flying in helicopters, for instance, those things aren't made to stay in the air, right? So your adrenaline's always running, and you have a level of cortisol always being released into your body. And that actually shrinks the hippocampus in your brain. It reduces its size over time. So if you spend, 6 years or 10 years or 20 years living like that, your hippocampus has shrunk. And your hippocampus is in charge of your body's fight or flight reaction whenever your adrenaline starts running. So whenever you're back in the States and your adrenaline starts running for no reason, because that's used to operating at that tempo, your body can't respond correctly to that fight or flight reaction. So you get real tense and scared, like you are going to fight someone right now. And I had no idea how physical it was. And when you compound that on top of the memories that you lived through, your adrenaline's running, you start seeing those times you were overseas that you don't want to think about and relive. It compounds, man. And that is so overwhelming. For me, I didn't want to live in this world anymore. It was just so dark and disgusting, dude. There was no reason to want to stay in this world and be a part of it. And that's all I saw every single day. And, we hear it over and over again at these screenings that we do now. Veterans from Vietnam, from World War II come up and say the exact same thing. They'll say, I've been living like this for decades and nobody has ever told me this. And that breaks my freaking heart, dude. Like those guys have been in pain for 20 years, 30 years. That's why we made this film, to kind of talk about it, say, there is a physical problem here that you can actually heal. And we talk about that in the film too, that your hippocampus can regrow whenever you are in environments where your adrenaline's running, your endorphins running. And that's one of the biggest things we talk about when we do Q&As and the screenings is adventure therapy and how you can heal. You don't have to live in darkness anymore.
And I mean, Taylor, what would you say to family members? What would your advice be to them in terms of their loved ones who come back, and a good chance they are suffering from this?
Yeah, that's always a really hard question to answer. Because I broke about every single relationship that I had whenever I was going through this, and I pushed anyone that cared about me away. And I was, nasty, anybody that ever loved me didn't at that point. So I usually tell family members that, after they've seen my story, it's a big ask, but I usually ask for patience, You're trying to heal. You're trying to get your body right again. And until that happens, you're not going to want to live. You're not going to care about those relationships. So forcing things on people like, oh, you got to go. So you need to go to the VA. The VA didn't help me at all when I got back. That was the worst thing. I don't tell people to do that. And I have a lot of respect for the VA and the people that work there, but it didn't help me one bit. A pill didn't help me one bit at all. Made things worse, actually. So I tell people, look, the best you can do is be patient and put something in front of them, some adventure therapy program in front of them, just so long as they know that they can get better, because it's going to click in their mind. They're going to push everybody away, but it's going to click at some point or another that I don't want to live like this anymore. And they'll see that there's an option to get better. And getting out with guys that have been through it and been overseas with you before, in an environment where your adrenaline's running and your endorphins running and you're seeing some of the most beautiful things you can see in the world, will make you want to live again. So if there's families listening to this and they have family members going through it, I would definitely point them to an adventure therapy program near them. You don't have to say anything. You don't have to be like, you need to go to this now. And just, hey, there's this group of guys that are going through what you went through, and they're doing cool stuff like trekking through the mountains on horseback for 30 days or going sailing for 2 weeks off the coast. There's options to get better. So that's where I would start.
Okay. Well, I really appreciate that. Not personalize this too much. I have my own connections to someone who has served, and it's one of those things. You mentioned World War II, Vietnam, and these are those generations that never talked about it. And I think we think this is something new, but I just think maybe it's something that we just never recognized previously. Or should have recognized. Glenn and Chayne, I know you've done a lot of different things, but as you said, you have some connections. You've done some mental health related projects. What do you think many of us don't realize, or in your experience when you're, what in particular veterans, people like Taylor are going through, and others with these sort of mental health issues?
I think it's such a simple message. Recovery is possible. Recovery is possible for anyone who takes that step, who as Taylor pointed out, it needs to come from within. But there are all kinds of supports around once you take that step. Actually, it's a circle. Once you step into the circle that you say you want to change, and that's where I find such strength and such personal inspiration for someone who's brave enough to take that first step into that circle where they say they want to change. Because if they can get through these journeys, my little day seems so pale in comparison.
Yeah.
But I think every one of us has that strength. I just think we need to be alerted to it.
Okay. Chayne, did you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, sure. I agree exactly with what Glenn said. And, a question that we get often is, how can I be supportive? What can I do to help? And, I think that there is a part for everybody to play, and it doesn't have to be big. It could be as simple as, call your friend up and have a cup of coffee with them, invite them over for dinner.
Right.
If you don't know a veteran and you want to get involved, and there's plenty of opportunities, you just got to show up and that's it. It's really about giving your time. You don't always have to say the right thing, and I think it's just more about being present. And so with that, personally, after having now been involved in this project for 4 years, I kind of feel like a sense of like, hey, I feel like there's a level of my own personal responsibility in the sense of like, hey, here's a group of men and women that have first served for us and provide, certain freedoms for us that we are able to enjoy. Like, hey, I'm able to be a film producer and I love what I do. And that's credited back to our military and veteran personnel. And so it just feels like to me, like I should be at least making an effort to meet them halfway in some way, shape or form. And it could just, like I said, be as simple as just being present, being aware and having just a basic understanding of, hey, transitioning out of the military and back into civilian life is not necessarily always easy for everybody. And just like Taylor said, just be patient, but be there too, and that was a big takeaway for me from this.
And I think, Taylor, you've already mentioned this, but from all of you, I mean, you've mentioned you've done the screenings, you've had some incredible receptions from audiences. What do you, I mean, is this, and I've seen this, get on social media, Facebook, Instagram. I see how this is resonating. I mean, how is that? That must make you feel good in a way. And also, I mean, what are the lessons you've taken from that, or people being inspired by this film to who are various things, whether they're sufferers or the family members or friends?
The coolest thing we've seen with these screenings is, or I've seen it myself, I've gotten a lot of hope from it for our country, man. And it sounds cheesy, I know, but we did go the route for the better part of a year trying to talk to congressmen and even try to talk to senators here in Texas. And that just went nowhere. We couldn't get anywhere with it. There was just, the problem was too big. It's too big for us. We can't handle it. So it's pretty discouraged on our mission whenever we got back to the States. And then we started doing the screenings, and we do these screenings around the States and these communities give a shit, dude. And they like come pouring out like, how can we start these programs here in our States? How can I get my niece or nephew or son or daughter in front of one of these adventure therapy programs? And I'm glad to say, I mean, there's thousands of adventure therapy programs around the States. Yeah. Because other veterans, went through, I did, and started a program themselves in whatever state they're in, whatever community they're in. Yeah. There's been a need for it, and people have taken upon themselves to make sure our boys or our brothers and sisters are taken care of. So, I mean, that's the coolest part. Is communities are doing it themselves. They're taking care of our own whenever we come back, and not waiting on the government to do something about it, which I think for me has been incredible to be a part of and to see. I mean, it's just really relit the fire in me. But as far as feeling good going to these screenings, I mean, I don't feel good going to any of these screenings, dude, because the people that come to these have been hurting for years, and haven't been getting the help that they need. So I think if anything, it's just it pisses me off more and makes us all more motivated to get this in front of as many people as we can to let them know they're not alone. We definitely feel like we're reaching people, but I mean, there's 19 million veterans in the States. You know, we got a long way to go before everybody's getting help that they need.
But I gather the maybe just slowly a few of the politicians are starting to listen and hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, some of we're getting a little bit of attention, not near as much as we should. I mean, for context, you know, whenever, like, for instance, when the GI Bill was created, 75% of our Congress were veterans, you know, and now our Congress is composed of 32% veterans. So it's not their fault, you know. I think that's what everybody gets mad about. All the government's not doing anything. I think they just don't know. I really do, and that's part of why we made this film, to kind of show people what's going on and that there is a problem. Because if you haven't served, then you have no idea. You really don't. So that's another leg of the film. You know, if we can get this in front of the people that make policy, we can start creating programs for veterans when they out process to let them know what's going on and how to heal. Other countries are doing it much better than we are, man. Like you guys in the UK. You guys do that's in the film. You saw that?
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. Was my next question, because you've got that great scene. You got the guys from the I don't know what the British Army's doing in a boat, but anyway, you ran into them. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, it's just one of the things that happens with this film. We all kind of laugh about now because it's happened over and over again. But the chances of two boats meeting in the world in the Panama Canal at the exact minute of the day is just unreal, dude. And then for that boat to be filled by active duty military guys is I mean, it's unheard. It's out of this world. I mean, I will never be able to describe it. But yeah, the boat's crewed by active duty military. It's funded by the Royal Logistics Corps there in the UK, and their unit. I had no idea about this program first to say it. I don't know if I say that on film, but we had no idea that something like this existed. Yeah. And they're telling us on the boat, because we're flying, we have the Mission 22 flag flying, and they're like, dude, Mission 22, man, nice. You guys are right here for veteran suicide. I'm like, hell yeah, we are going to Cape Horn. You know, they were all about it. They're like, that's so sick. They're like, we're doing the same thing. I was like, what the hell is a bunch of active duty Army guys doing out here? Yeah. And that's the first time I ever heard anything like it. They said, yeah, well, when we go on deployments, when we come back, a third of our unit at a time is required to go on an adventure therapy program. Either it's sailing, hiking, or kayaking, or camping. Like, they get to choose, and their command funds that program. So they rotate through when they go back, you know. And I mean, a light bulb, dude. All of our problems in the States around PTSD and veteran suicide, I mean, we talk about it in the film, you know. People just build veterans houses and give them counseling and give them medication, you know, but there isn't anything being done to prevent veteran suicide at all. And these other countries that are working, where the veteran suicide numbers are going down, are focused on preventing guys getting there, you know. So we need to start doing that in the States. You know, it's proven, and it's not hard to do. We just have to start doing it.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I mean, I can tell you, having lived here a while, it's still higher than the national average. Veteran suicide rates were quite high, but then, as you noted, actually they're starting to try to do something about that. But it's been an issue here as well. But no, I thought that was a really cool moment in the film, and certainly I really appreciated that. I mean, I think this is. I mean, and again, I just say, as someone who's seen it, it's just. I think I found this quite an amazing film in that you've got this adventure, yet you're you know, how many films combine an adventure story with raising awareness, with you know, also, you know, informing us about, you know, these issues that I mean, personally, and I can say as an American citizen, I think one issue you kind of alluded to with you know, how many in Congress are veterans. I mean, we've been having wars and things without, you know, a good portion of the population being sort of unaware that all this is happening. You know, I think so few of us have had direct connections to what's been going on. So thanks again for bringing this to so being crazy and deciding to go around the Cape Horn. Texans aren't supposed to do that. We're crazy, but we're not supposed to go around Cape Horn in a little boat. But thank you for doing that, and the power of Jack Daniels. I think we're starting to come on the end of our time together. I mean, Glenn and Chayne, is there anything else you want to add about this project that was? You must be very proud of this and thankful to have Steve. I guess we should give a shout out to Steven. He's the person who's kind of not been mentioned. Well, he's been mentioned, but he was your buddy here, Taylor, and he's a published author, short story author. And but thanks to his aunt for bringing this to your films. But anything, I'll let you say maybe a last word about the film that you might want to add. Glenn?
I would like to give a shout out to our editor, Vic Carino, the editing team. I mean, we had hundreds and hundreds of hours of footage to sift through. We actually had 2 editing rooms going at the same time. So the first brush that was looking at all the rushes at double speed, stopping at moments that looked like something was interesting happening, then paying careful attention to them. And then we dumped that footage over to Vic's station where he was working, and working with him to craft the flow of the film was really exciting. I mean, we had one of those big charts with stickies all over it, and scenes described. And so I think that everyone wanted to honor this journey, and I think it brought out the best in all the craftspeople who worked on it. The animation is amazing.
Yeah, I was going to add that.
Andrea Bataille and Penny Ashman.
And the music?
Music, Michael Aaron, composer. Yeah, I mean, everyone gave their best, and the film is a composite of everyone's best. And Chayne behind the scenes, always pushing that boulder up the hill, always pushing. Thank you, Chayne. It was a film that had to happen. We couldn't leave this footage on a hard drive somewhere. It had to be crafted into the story that it deserved to be. And I really feel like it's there. And that's if there is a pleasure in going to the screenings, it's saying, my goodness, we did it, which is. They did the journey. Another smaller journey is the making of the film, but it is still a journey.
And Taylor, did you ever imagine this finished product would look like this? This must be exceeding your expectations.
It is, yeah, very much so. But everybody that worked on this film, we wouldn't have a film to show if it wasn't for them. And certainly all those voices, people in pain for the years, would never be heard if it wasn't for them. I know John, Steven, and I are forever grateful to this crew. I think Glenn put it the best. I feel like they're just like Sisyphus rolling the boulder up the hill.
Yeah, indeed. A lot of classical Greek literature and mentions that through this film and here as well. Chayne, carry on. What were you going to say?
I don't have too much more to add other than it has, I think you said it earlier on, it has been an honor to be part of this. It really has been a privilege to work on this, to get to know guys like Taylor. It's really been an eye-opening experience, and it's been really positive. And then, it's just like it says in the film, and I don't want to give away too much, the work continues, right? Right. And now we're in this zone of trying to share the film with people, and how do we do that? And things like this that we're doing with you are really great. And, we just, to use that reference of pushing the boulder up the hill, we're still doing that. We're pushing the boulder now in terms of talking to people about the movie. I feel like I'm a broken record. I'm like, oh, if you love the movie, then leave us a review, man, because it helps. You know what I mean? So to all those listeners out there, if you love the movie, leave us a review. YouTube, IMDb, Rotten Tomatoes, whatever you like, give us a thumbs up or whatever you like to do. It really helps. And, we're a real grassroots effort because we don't have, we don't have a Disney or Marvel Studios budget to market this. So we rely heavily on supporters to help us move to the next phase and move to the next screening.
Okay. With that in mind, I think we are coming to the end of our time together. I just was going to ask each one of you, what's next for you? Glenn, what's What's next in terms of projects you're working on? Are you going to be the typical filmmaker and say, "Oh, I've got a lot of projects, but none I can talk about at the moment"?
Oh, I've got a lot of projects. I'm happy to talk about all of them. I mean, another unfortunate story that I'm working on is the impact of gun violence in the city that I live in. So I'm investigating that through first-person stories of people who've been directly affected by violence. I'm engaged in a portrait of a civil rights activist who was a great hero of mine, and he's 83 years old, and he just got arrested last week. So lots of good things. I'm doing a portrait of a painter, Jamie Wyeth, and I did a portrait of his father, Andrew Wyeth, before.
That's right.
And that's been quite a beautiful film to work on. So I'm feeling very rich in stories and very lucky in life.
We look forward to seeing those. And Chayne, how about you?
I just ride Glenn's coattails, man. You know. and now I'm going to pick up on Taylor's too, so I'll just ride Taylor's coattails as well. You know,
it's not riding. You're driving. You're making it happen. It's not riding
true.
at all.
But fresh driver, Fresh Fly must have something other things going on. But
oh yeah, no, we do. We have. I mean, we do a lot of commercial work too, and that's a big part of our business as well. You know, the advertising and commercial side, and that enables us to do these sorts of films where, you know, we can then take the time and put resources towards doing something that we're passionate about and we feel like can be bigger than ourselves and serve a larger purpose. And, you know, that's really why we do a lot of these films and these projects, because it enables us to use the skill sets that we've been able to acquire over the last number of years and put them to good use.
Wow. Well, that is a well-trod path for many documentary filmmakers. I know it goes all the way back. It keeps the lights on while you get to do this stuff you enjoy, like this project. And Taylor, I think you've already mentioned, and I know it comes up in the film, but congratulations, you've started a family. What's next for you, and in terms of what you're also doing in terms of helping veterans?
Cool, man. Thanks. Well, yeah, pushing the film is still a big part of us. We're still doing screenings. Our next screening is at Parris Island, it's a big Marine Corps base here in the States. That's on December 10th. So getting in front of active duty guys and veterans is still a big part of our goal. Next goal is to get an Academy Award, dude, get nominated. So if anybody listening to this knows anybody that votes on these things, hit us up. Because, dude, I mean, we'd be able to reach so many veterans if that happened, you know? There'd be millions of veterans that would see it that would never have seen it before. That's the next big goal of ours. And then on the other side, personally, John and I are sailing. We started a foundation down here in Texas. It's called American Odysseus Sailing Foundation. This last year, we sailed with 56 veterans. We go sail for a couple days or a week at a time down the coast of Texas. That's a big goal and focus of ours. We're done for the season now. We'll pick back up in March. And then the next one is my tequila is finally coming into the States. I don't know if you guys watch the news, but this logistics backlog off California has killed us. So we should have some bottles in before the end of the year now. Yeah, we're supposed to have them here 2 months ago. That didn't happen.
So you should be... are you bringing your bottles in from China? What's that? So that hasn't been mentioned, but you have. I did see that you're a man of many talents. You've invented a tequila. Is that right? You've developed and so yeah. What's the supply chain issues that are killing you? No bottles. Is that right?
No bottles, no glass bottles. Yeah, COVID hit. Pretty much glass manufacturers in Mexico either shut down or raised their prices to like $5 a bottle, which would have crushed us starting out. So yeah, it's been a long road, but that's a conversation for another time.
That's a whole different podcast. That's I'll refer that to The Economist or someone. But hey, well, thank you guys. Really, really enjoyed having you on. It's been a pleasure. Just to remind our listeners, we've been talking with Taylor Grieger, Glenn Holsten, Chayne Gregg, the filmmakers behind Hell or High Seas, recently released on digital platforms and available on the eponymous website, hellorhighseas.com. So thanks, guys. Good luck with the screenings and all your future endeavors. and we'll be on the lookout for those. And again, a big thank you, and really appreciate you coming on. I'd also like to give a big shout out to Sam and Joe at Inner Sound Audio in Eskirk, England. A big thanks to Nevin Apaunovich, our podcast manager at Alamo Pictures, who ensures we continue getting such great guests like Taylor, Glenn, and Chayne onto the show. Finally, a big thanks to our listeners. As always, we love to hear from you, so please keep sending us feedback and episode ideas, whether it is on YouTube, social media, or directly by email. And please remember to like us and share us with your friends and family, wherever you happen to listen or watch podcasts. This is Factual America, signing off. You've been listening to Factual America. This podcast is produced by Alamo Pictures, specializing in documentaries, television, and shorts about the USA for international audiences. Head on down to the show notes for more information about today's episode, our guests, and the team behind the podcast. Subscribe to our mailing list or follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Alamo Pictures. Be the first to hear about new productions, festivals showing our films, and to connect with our team. Our homepage is alamopictures.co.uk.